What's up, guys? Today I'm sitting here with two pretty cool figures. These are the Legends of Zelda Breath of the Wild figures. I'm not exactly sure what line this is. They're from Nintendo. They're official Nintendo merchandise. I believe this is from a company called Jakks Pacific. And I want to talk about these figures for a couple of reasons. So first, let's talk about how I got these figures. I was in Walmart roaming around when all of a sudden I came across a figure. And I said to myself, wow, those are pretty cool figures, right? And then I saw the price. And I was like, $10? They look like they'd be more than $10. They look like pretty solid figures. I said, you know what, $10, it's 20 for two of them. Link and Zelda are right there. I'm considering doing shots with them anyway for a different Link and Zelda figure that I have. These ones look better. They're from a newer version of the game, and because that newer version of the game is designed the way it is, they look good outside too. You know what I think? I think I'm getting them. I mean, they're the same price point as the Todd McFarlane Super Powers line. And that brings us to the next part of this discussion. So let's not beat around the bush here. Let's get straight to the point. Let's really ask the question, what is the value of an action figure? Well, quite frankly, it's what we are willing to pay for it. And there's a lot of determining factors in terms of how these figures are priced on the other side of the wall. For us, it's very simple. We walk in, we see the figure, it says anywhere from 10, 14, 18, 24, 34, 40, $60. We don't know exactly how we're feeling, what kind of money we have, or how a figure's going to hit us when we see it. I saw the Battle Cat for Masterverse, and it was $40, and I said, damn it, that is so cool. And I bought it with no worries whatsoever. I said, to me, it's worth it. To me, it's worth it. That's a key point. To you, is it worth it? Okay. Now, on the other side of the wall, there's a whole different thing going on. It depends on how much they spent on tooling, how many of them they're going to produce, what kind of retail options they have, and so on and so forth, where these are going out, how many are going out. There's a huge rush of different things behind the scenes, including, do they have to pay for property license and royalties and so on and so forth. Star Wars is one of those things that maybe, oh, you know what? TMNT. If TMNT is one of those things that one company gets a hold of, sure, they now have the right to make a TMNT toy, but they may have to very well pay a royalty on top of all the other costs that normally go into the figure. So not only when it comes to us do we get a chance to buy said figure, but it could cost even more. And then I would imagine, I don't have solid facts about this, but I would imagine that because of the way these property rights often work, I would think that things like with NECA, where they did an entire line with TMNT movie monsters, I bet you, for the likeness and idea, and I cannot guarantee this, but I have a feeling that they probably have to pay a property license on the TMNT and a property license on the Universal movie monsters. So this probably goes twofold, that they have to pay royalties out twice to the different companies and can keep the license and yada yada and a bunch of legal and background and yada yada. And that probably equivalates into the price of the item. I can understand that. This is Nintendo producing a figure. This is McFarlane producing a figure. McFarlane Toys produces a figure. And that figure is the DC line Super Powers. And I've already said that I like this line. I think it's fantastic. And for $30 vehicles and $10 figures, with the added nostalgia boost that these are a continuation of the Super Powers line, I've heard the retro blasting has a big concern here. And I can see it, that it doesn't scale necessarily perfectly with the old line. I saw that. I watched his entire video. It doesn't bother me the way it bothers him. Some people are very, very particular. Some people are not. In this case, I'm really not. I think this is a fantastic idea. I think that this toy line is fantastic, and I think it does exactly what it's promising to do. I personally think that you can add these to a superpower line of vintage figures that you are already collecting, and I don't think that they will look that out of place. I really, honestly do not. And now that we're getting a little more of them, I'm starting to see some scale differences, such as Superman is taller than Wonder Woman. Those little scale differences make me feel like maybe when the only thing he had to compare was a Superman, and he took it to an old figure, and the old figure, and I don't know this for sure, but I seem to remember that in the Superpowers line, pretty much every figure was like the exact same size. It was just a thing of the time. Every G.I. Joe is the exact same size. There's not a scale where the women are smaller, the men are taller, one man is taller than another man. I don't remember that in the original toy lines that I collected when I was a kid. But this, going into some modern day equivalent, each figure is to the new scale, just a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller inside of this new scale. Wonder Woman is not the same size as Superman. Does that make a huge difference? One could argue it does. So while retro blasting has a point, me and him do not see eye to eye on this. Not that we ever talk anyway, and not that it would ever matter one way or another, because his opinion is every bit as valid as my opinion. This is just collecting. And we all have reason for why we do it, how we do it, what we'll accept and what we won't accept. But, coming around from that, it hits me that McFarlane Toys is literally paying a royalty for the DC license. I'd almost guarantee they have to, right? They have to be paying for that license. And then they produce these toys. And they're good looking. They are. And then these toys get produced by this company that, quite frankly, I don't even know. I really do not. This says official Nintendo licensed product, and over here there's a label that says Jakks Pacific, which I assume is the toy company putting these out. And the quality, the value, the amount of articulation, deco, look overall, these seem way better than this. And it got me thinking, why? Why are these two figures $10 at a standard rate for the kind of size of figure they are? But these seem well more constructed, better constructed than these. Is it just aesthetics? Is it because this was specifically designed to look this way? And that's the only reason that these are not on par with these and still costing the same? The price confused me, is what I'm saying. I was shocked when I found these for $10 and these for $10. Not that I'm complaining one way or another. That's a fantastic price. But it did make me wonder what was creating the pay scale, such as, why aren't these, say, $7? And these $10? And you know what? Then I probably wouldn't have asked a question at all. McFarlane Toys seems to be able to keep its overhead down pretty well and give us reasonable prices for the figures they produce. No issues there. They really do that. But it did confuse me when I saw these and started comparing prices and then had to say, what is it that's making both of them $10? Because I honestly don't know. That's a real question that I wonder about, because in an engineering aspect, these guys don't have the same articulation that these guys do. So you would imagine that right off the bat, these are more expensive to produce. And you would imagine that both of them are paying royalty license. They're both paying royalties, I imagine. This is DC, McFarlane does not own DC. This right here is Nintendo, and of course, Jakks Pacific does not own Nintendo. I would not imagine. So, you get where I'm a little confused here. If, just by an engineering aspect, aren't these easier to make? Far easier to make? And maybe it's something to the extent of the DC license is way more expensive to produce toys for DC than to produce toys for Nintendo. And maybe that's the idea that Nintendo doesn't have a lot of luck with toys. So maybe Nintendo was willing to take a chance, get the toys produced, and lower the royalty rate. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't know what causes it. But it did make me wonder when I came across this, and these are both priced the same at Walmart. And there is a huge noticeable difference between them. In fact, let's open these and really compare them, these two toys that are sitting at the same price point of $10. Because I'm honestly wondering, maybe these feel cheaper. Let's see. Okay, so if we're going to do this, the very first thing that I want to point out is the box. Because of course, I'm doing this for a very different reason this time, but this is still kind of an unboxing, so I want to keep my format, at least for the most part, so my videos don't get kind of out of whack. Because yes, this video is asking $10, $10. Where does the value come from? Where's the better value in two different $10 figures? But that doesn't change the fact that I want to open these and I want to go over them real quick to discuss the complete value. We've seen the Super Power boxes before, and if you haven't, I'll post one of the annotations so that you can go back to one of the Super Power videos and you can actually see what these boxes look like and make a comparison in terms of that. These boxes are pretty solid. That's pretty cool artwork. The blister is solid. It looks like everything's done in real well. And one thing that I'm hoping is when I open this up, it looks like there's none of those plastic tabs. I don't like plastic tabs. If you're going to build the coffin, build the plastic coffin so that the figure fits in the plastic coffin and do away with all the plastic tag crap. I don't need them. I don't want them. The back is pretty simple, and the cross-sell here basically just shows that there's one other figure that you can get, and of course, that makes sense. Of course, we have all the bilingual information right here, a small little bio and things of that nature. Let's turn the camera a little bit here because I want to get both these boxes in the frame. We have an official Nintendo seal of quality. Mine's a little damaged, but who really cares? You know me. I'm going to open these anyway. And these come with 20 points of articulation as opposed to this guy right here has all of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry, hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We'll count that as 7 points of articulation. His knees bend, his pelvic area, his hips, they actually move. His arms move at the shoulder, his neck moves. That's it. That's the entirety of movement that exists in the Super Powers line. These guys are rocking 20 points of articulation, which I imagine means they'll pose really well for the photography sets. I won't know till I get down there and do it, but that's my assumption. Let's open them. All right, so let's do this. Let's see if we can just pop these out. We'll start with Link. Sword pops right out. I'm sorry, it's going to get crinkly. He pops right out. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. That is what I like to see. If you're going to build the coffin, just build it and be done with it. Don't put all the tabs and all the little wires and all the ties. That's pointless. You don't need a bunch of tape. If you can just do this, just do this. I'm going to unpack her right now without all the noise. Okay, here we go. So here's Zelda, and here's this. Here's her Sheikah tablet, which is pretty cool. I saw this little thing right here, and I thought maybe you could actually pull it down. You cannot pull it down. That's not a thing. And also, I was hoping that maybe it would clip to her belt. And while it kind of does, she has a little hook back here. It goes onto the little peg, and it'll kind of sit there, but, I mean, it's not, you know what I mean? It's not the most solid thing you've ever seen in your entire life. It just isn't. That's not what it is. But it seems like she moves pretty well. We got a standardized T-pose right here, which is really solid. She moves up really well. She moves her arms. She's got that double elbow, which for a figure of this size, I'm actually really impressed with that. Does her wrist move? Her wrist moves. It moves this way. Does it move? It moves in and out, which I'm impressed with. It does not go up and down, but that's okay. Minifigures like her don't. There's no real ab crunch at all. I'm not getting anything off of that. Her hair is fantastic. Her neck, I mean, it moves for what it's worth. Her legs, bit of a problem here and there, but for what it's worth, oh, and she's got that knee too. That's actually pretty good for a figure her size and $10. I'm fairly impressed. Even though there's things that I could complain about, I could say that I would have liked to see the ab crunch and whatnot. I would have liked to have seen the ab crunch. I would have liked a little better articulation on the neck, but for what it's worth, that's really solid. I'm pretty impressed. And I have to mess with her a little bit, but I'm getting her to stand, which is another thing. Female characters are notorious for having decent bodies, for having decent legs and tiny feet. And I get it, but like, sometimes the feet on most female figures or the legs on most female figures don't actually support the rest of the figure. It happens a lot, and it gets kind of old, kind of irritating, and then you end up fighting with it constantly. Of course, Link comes with a sword, not his sword. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to say it's his sword because it's a sword. It seems to fit his hand fairly well. It's a little loose, to be fair, if I'm going to be completely honest. His hands seem to be made out of a very bendable plastic, like very bendable. I'm noticing. This hand seems to hold the sword a little bit better than the other. I don't know if there's a specific reason for that. Maybe it has to do with this hand is the actual hand that he holds the sword in. I believe he's left-handed in some games, right-handed in some games. I actually don't know about this one. This is one game I don't know. But I like this. That's a very nice material right here. It's going to give him a lot of bend. He has the same kind of stuff she does. His head seems a little bit better than hers. He, of course, yep, he's going to do the T-pose. His arm will go all the way around. He has the elbows just like she did, which is really solid. Same wrist. Yep, he's got the full turn and everything like that. His feet, he has the little foot joints right here just like she does. He has the decent ankle. It's a decent ankle. It's got a little bit of a rock on it. And he's got the knees. He's going to pose well. He's going to work really well. And both of them, by the way, which I didn't mention, have solid faces. They got really good faces. You know how I feel about that. You know that I'm the kind of person, I like the faces to be right. I like them to have good faces. And as far as I could tell from what I'm seeing here, they got good faces. I like the faces a lot, and that's important for me. The faces are always something that I focus on, always. If the figure has a bad face, most of the time, I don't even want it, because it throws off the rest of it no matter how good the bodies are and everything like that. And sometimes I will replace the face on purpose. He has this, which I assumed was going to be something, but it doesn't actually equivalent to anything. It's just there. I don't actually even know what this belt is. And it seems to be an actual other outside piece. It could be taken off of him. I don't know what it's for. He also has the same thing right here, so he can hold the Sheikah pad thing. It will not hold his sword. He carries his sword. That's just the way he is. These figures are solid for what they're worth. But after we just went over them, right? and we just kind of looked over them and seen what all they offer in terms of articulation. Wonder Woman was the last one of these that I got from the Super Powers line. I will be buying most of the next wave. Wave 4 interests me a lot. I don't want Aquaman, but I want that Tim Drake, I want the Batman, I want the Batmobile, and I want the other Wonder Woman. So I'm buying 4 from the next superpower line, the Wave 4. It all looks really good to me. I'm very impressed. I don't need the invisible jet. I don't really understand what I would do with it. I don't know. But the only thing they have is this. Almost no head movement at all because it's a female, and the hair is just... This is a problem with a lot of female characters. If the hair isn't done in a very specific way to allow neck movement, then the hair looks good, and the figure will end up looking good, but the neck will pretty much never move. And of course, like I said, they move there and they move there, and dynamic pose, maybe this... If you could put it on a stand, she's flying, and that's about as dynamic as you're going to get. This is very much a figure of its time. And that's weird for me to say because, like, it is of its time because this is very much the Super Powers line. And I talked about that. I talked about exactly what this is. These are very much built to represent the Super Powers line, the continuation of the old toys. And for what it's worth, they do just that. But the prices here confuse me. Because if we're talking modern toys, and you ask me, what's a better value? These. These articulate better, they'll photograph better, they move better, they have more deco hits than these guys do, like way more. Every time a paintbrush, every time paint touches a character, you get costed. Every single time. And these guys, from their face, and you know what? I think she has more hits than he does. Maybe I'm wrong, but it feels like she's got a lot. She's got the part on her armor down here with the boots, and she's got multiple different levels of paint and everything across here. She even has the seams on the side of her pants, which that's not a paint hit, but she's got this little yellow thing that comes off of her and this blue down here, and every single one of these is a separate hit. And that interwove right here, that gold interwove, that is fantastic. And her hair, everything about it, except for a wash on her hair, which would have done her 1,000 favors and made her even better than she already is, but it's a $10 figure. Look at that. Paint hits the boot, 2. There's the metal, and it's all connected, and there's the red legs. There's some stars. Yeah, that's true. And then, I mean, you look at Superman. The paint is better. The articulation is better. Subjective, but you could say the mold is better. The engineering is definitely better. It's crazy to me. Why do these sit at the exact same price point? So let me say something as we close out here. This video is not to demean the Super Powers line. I hope that I've been making that clear. I really, honestly do. Because I'm going to tell you right now, just like I said while we were going over the figures, you better believe I'm buying 4 from the next wave. Now, I pick and choose what I buy. I don't just necessarily buy an entire line because I want an entire line. Aquaman doesn't do anything for me. It's not my character. But the next wave, Wave 4 from the Super Powers line, looks fantastic. That Batmobile... Holy crap, I want that Batmobile. That Batman, that's my Batman. That's Nightfall era Bruce Wayne Batman, as far as I'm concerned. That's the one I liked the most out of every Batman there's ever been. That oval, that's fantastic. I love the oval. I love the gray and blue. I love that Batman. He's my favorite Batman. That's fantastic. Tim Drake, that's my favorite Robin. Favorite Robin. Fantastic. Wonder Woman, I used to have an entire shelf dedicated to only Wonder Woman. I mean, Of course I'm getting that. Invisible Jet, I don't see it happening. Aquaman, I don't see it happening. But in the next wave, I intend to spend, let's see, I'm getting at least Wonder Woman, Batman, Robin. That's $30 right there, plus another $30 if the Batmobile runs the same as what it was kind of running with the other with the vehicles. And if that's true, I got at least $60 going towards that line already accounted for. I would have to go online to actually check the prices. I don't currently know right now, but I'm pretty sure that's about right. I'm paying at least $60 in that next wave, and you know what? I have no reserve about that at all. I have nothing where I'm going to sit here and go, that's a lot of money, I'm really going to have to think about this one. For that amount of figures, at $60, plus a vehicle, sold. I'm sold. It's very easy to sell me on that. Of course I'm going to do that. This is a hero line that I love a lot. I mean, I really, really do. I love DC heroes for what it's worth, and I really love the superheroes, the superpower line, because it really takes me back into my childhood, and there's something about the aesthetic, the old style toy, that normally I don't buy into. I don't buy retro Star Wars figures. I didn't grow up with them. I don't care enough. I guess I did. I remember having a couple of them. I don't care. I don't want retro Star Trek figures. I guess, okay. How do I put this? I don't want retro Star Trek figures that look like this. I like retro Playmates. I find that line to be fantastic, and I like almost all of it, and I really want the entire original crew, and then I build from there and whatnot. And, of course, I like these figures in the back. These, I believe they're 9-inch, comparable to Mego, those type of things from the Star Trek Collector Series line. I like that a lot, the Playmates. Still Playmates, by the way. I do like classic toys for what it's worth. I like classic G.I. Joe, if it's the right ones. And I like the Superpower line. But for the most part, I don't run in blindly buying a bunch of classic figures because the toys, personally, I feel we've come a long way in toys. A long way. For the people that constantly go, "Ooh, when I was a kid, toys were far better. Toys, blah, blah." I'm sorry. I can't do it. I can't just sit here and blindly agree with you. There are toys that I like a lot that, yes, I would tell you, oh man, I'd buy that again in a second. But let's be honest here. If I walk down the toy line and see what they got as opposed to what I got, man, toys are sick now. And not that we didn't have better toys here and there, because we did. We did. Some of our deco hits and whatnot, Wash is starting to leave figures and whatnot, so you're starting to see where, especially like around the 2000s and whatnot, we kind of had a wave of these really nice figures that were coming out that were good for both adult and children collectors and whatnot. And now it's kind of starting to fall back where you're seeing some of the Wash leave the figures and some of the deco hits are leaving, and it's getting a little cheaper while things are getting more expensive. So you're seeing the trends. Yes, toys are going through the ringer right now. There are things happening. Keep your eyes open and watch for value. And that leads us all the way back. Watch for value. These Nintendo toys, personally, seem really solid. And for $10, in my case, for $3, because yeah, I got them on a weird type of unmarked clearance. I bought these two figures, originally supposed to be $10, took them up, rang them up the thing, beep, it came up on the little Walmart thing and said, hey, this Nintendo figure for $3. And I was like, what? And then scan Zelda and Link, doot doot, $6. I said, oh my, yes, especially after we've already done this in an old video where I bought the Sorceress from Walmart and she was marked down to $9, and then I scanned her, beep, and she came up 19, and I bought her because I'm a putz, and that's something that I do because, look, I'll call myself out. I did it. I was stupid, okay? I didn't even fight about it. I was like, oh, I guess they win this round because sometimes I'm a putz, okay? But, yes, value is an argument to be had right now. It's a real argument to be had right now because in some cases, you get what you pay for. And in some cases, you get more than you paid for. And in some cases, the figures are getting cheaper but more expensive. So you got to really watch what you care about, why you care about it, and whether or not you're willing to pay said value. And then it brings us back to the original question, the question that started this entire video. Both of these are $10. Do I necessarily agree with that? On a personal level, I will pay $10 for these, and I will pay $10 for these. But if you had to ask me, these are probably only honestly worth about $7, $8 maybe. And these might actually be in the $12 or $13 range, if you asked me. And maybe that goes another way. Maybe these are about a $10 value. And these are somehow marking their prices down, because I would honestly see them as anywhere from $12 to $15 figures at that rate, if these are $10. If this is the price scale of $10, I honestly see the value an extra $5, if not $6 on top of these is what these are. But I don't know how they came up with the price. And I probably never will. But I thought it was interesting to come in here and talk about it. Maybe you thought the same. Maybe you have an answer. I don't know. I certainly don't. But anyways, guys, keep collecting. Make this about you. Don't worry about everybody else. It's your collection. It's what it says about you. It's not what it says about other people. Have your opinions. Know your opinions. Share your opinions. But also be open to the fact that I've got mine and you've got yours. This is my collection. Your collection is your collection. Keep collecting. We're all in this together.
I have spoken. Take what you will from it.